You're watching alone. That's good. That's how she wanted it. Let me tell you about the night Martha stopped crying. It wasn't the night Samuel died. It was the morning after. The sun came up over Crenshaw County like nothing had happened, and that old woman, your neighbor, though you never met her, she stood in the kitchen and laughed. Not a happy laugh, a real one. The kind that breaks a person open or seals them shut. It was a Tuesday. Samuel drove the tractor down the dirt path past the big oak. Martha waved from the porch. That was the last wave. The branch fell at 2:47 p.m. It caught him across the back. Not the head, the back. Doctors said that was worse. A head injury kills you or lets you walk. A back injury keeps you alive, but still. Samuel lived, but from the neck down, nothing. Martha sat in the hospital waiting room for 6 weeks. She didn't go home once. The dog stayed with the son stayed drunk, and Martha stayed still. The doctors used big words. Martha didn't listen. She watched Samuel's eyes instead. Those eyes said, "Kill me." She saw it clear as day. He stopped talking on day 4. Not because he couldn't, because he wouldn't. What was there to say? A man who drove a tractor for 40 years now can't lift a spoon. Martha held his hand. He didn't hold back. He couldn't. That's the cruel part. His hand was warm. His grip was gone. She told him she loved him. He blinked once. That meant yes, or maybe it meant goodbye. The insurance ran out after 8 weeks. Martha signed the papers. She borrowed David's truck. She laid Samuel in the back on an air mattress. He stared at the sky the whole drive. 45 minutes of branches passing over his face. She pulled into the driveway and realized the ramp wasn't built. David promised to build it. David forgot. Martha dragged Samuel inside on a flattened cardboard box. Ouch. Her knees bled through her dress. She didn't stop. She got him to the bed. Then she sat on the floor and cried for 11 minutes. Then she stopped. She couldn't lift him into the hospital bed, so she came down to him. She took the guest mattress and put it on the floor next to his rail. That was their bedroom for 10 years. 10 years of turning him every 4 hours. 10 years of bedpans and sponge baths. 10 years of him not saying a single full sentence. She slept in her clothes. She ate standing up. She never complained. Not to him, not to David, not to God. She just did the next thing. Then the next thing. Then the next. The pipes froze in December. Martha boiled water on the stove. She carried buckets to the bedroom to wash him. She didn't own a space heater. The house was 52 degrees inside. She put 3 blankets on Samuel. She wore a coat to bed. The dog curled at her feet. She talked to Samuel like nothing was wrong. "Good morning. The roads are icy. I saw a deer." He watched her lips move. He knew she was lying. He let her lie. What else was either of them supposed to do? His medication cost $800 a month. The farm didn't make $800 a month. Martha went to the pawn shop in Laverne. She put her gold band on the counter. The man offered $140. She said yes. She walked out without it. Her finger stayed white for 3 years. Samuel never asked where it went. He knew. One night he tried to point at her hand. She tucked both hands under her arms. "Let's watch the news," she said. He didn't fight her. David worked the farm alone. That wasn't enough, so Martha learned. At 62 years old, she climbed onto the John Deere. She started the engine. She drove into the south field. She turned around. She came back. That was day 1. By day 30, she was plowing. By day 90, she could fix a flat tire. Her hands blistered. Then they calloused. Then they stopped hurting. She never told Samuel she was doing his job. He watched her walk in with diesel on her dress. He turned his head away. 3 years in, Martha found it. A nylon rope under Samuel's pillow, 6 feet long, tied in a loop. She didn't say a word. She took the rope, she put it in the barn. Then she checked under his pillow every morning for the next 7 years. She found 6 more ropes, 2 belts, 1 extension cord. She removed every single one. He never asked where they went. She never mentioned them. That was their agreement. He would try to die. She would stop him. Neither one said it out loud.
Martha never cried in the house. Too thin, too loud. He would hear. So she went to the barn. Old Blue followed. She would lean against the tractor tire and cry. No sound, just shaking, just wet cheeks. She gave herself 10 minutes. Then she wiped her face. Then she walked back inside with the dog. She asked Samuel if he wanted soup. He blinked once. She made soup. That was the pattern for 10 years. Cry in the barn, smile in the house. Repeat. Old Blue got old too. His hips went bad. Martha forgot to feed him some days. Not on purpose. There was just too much to do. Too many turns, too many pills, too many bills. The dog would nudge her leg at midnight. "Oh hey," she would say. Then she would pour kibble into his bowl. He ate like it was a feast. That dog loved her more than anyone. And she loved him back. But love doesn't fill a bowl. Guilt does. She felt guilty every single night. David stopped visiting after year 2. Not because he was cruel, because he couldn't look at his father. A paralyzed man in a flannel nightshirt who used to bench press hay bales. David drank more. Martha didn't lecture him. She just said, "Your daddy asks about you." That was a lie. Samuel never asked about anyone. But Martha needed David to believe he was wanted. So she lied. And David came back once a month. He sat in the corner. He didn't speak. That counted as a visit. Every Sunday morning, Martha ironed a button-up shirt. Blue plaid, Samuel's favorite. She laid it on the chair next to his bed. Then she ironed his trousers. Then she hung them on the closet door. He never wore them again. Not once. But she ironed those clothes every week for 10 years. 520 Sundays. 520 shirts. She told herself it was hope. I know it was grief. Grief doesn't iron, but it does. It irons and irons and irons. They watched the same show every night. A Western, John Wayne. The volume was always off. Martha didn't like gunshots. Samuel couldn't hear anyway. So they watched men ride horses in silence. She would sit on the floor with her back against his bed. His hand hung over the rail. She would hold his fingers. He couldn't squeeze back, but he could feel her pulse. That was enough. For both of them. 7,300 hours of muted cowboys. That's a marriage. He never said thank you. Not after year 2. Not after she bathed him. Not after she fed him. Not after she stayed. Some people would call that cruel. I don't. I think he couldn't. Because thank you means this is a gift, and being paralyzed isn't a gift, and watching your wife die slowly isn't a gift. So he said nothing. She expected nothing. That was the quietest kind of love. The kind that asks for 0 thanks and gets 0 thanks and keeps going anyway.
Martha started talking to an empty chair. That was year 7. Her brother died in 1987. But she pulled his old rocking chair to the kitchen table. She poured 2 cups of coffee. She sat one across from her. She talked about the weather, about the farm, about Samuel's bed sores. She never answered herself. She just needed someone to say it to. Someone who wouldn't tell her to leave. Someone who was already dead. That's not crazy. That's just surviving a Tuesday. The church sent exactly 1 meal, a tuna casserole, in year 1. After that, nothing. No visits, no cards, no rides to the doctor. Martha didn't blame them. People don't know what to say to a woman whose husband is still alive but gone. It's awkward, so they hide. Martha understood. She also remembered. She remembered every single face that didn't show up. She forgave them, but she didn't forget. Forgiveness and forgetting are 2 different muscles. She only had energy for one. Her hands curled by year 8. The doctor said rheumatoid arthritis. He gave her pills. She couldn't afford the pills. She bought Samuel's instead. So her fingers bent sideways. It hurt to hold a spoon. It hurt to turn him. She did it anyway. She used her palms instead of her fingers. She learned new ways to grip. A person can adapt to anything except the truth. And the truth was, her body was quitting before Samuel's. But she didn't tell him that either. She learned his patterns, every inhale, every exhale, every pause. If the pause went longer than 8 seconds, she put her hand on his chest. He would breathe again. He always breathed again. Until one night, he didn't.
But that was later. For 9 years, she slept with one ear open. She woke up at every silence. That's not rest. That's a job. A 24-hour job with no paycheck and no vacation and no medal. And she never called it hard. She called it Tuesday. Here's what you don't know. Samuel knew everything. He knew about the rope searches. He knew about the barn crying. He knew about the brother's chair. He knew about the sold wedding ring. And he pretended not to, because if he admitted he knew, she would stop hiding. And if she stopped hiding, she would break. So he played dumb. For 10 years, he pretended to be the weak one so she could feel strong. He let her save him so she could save herself. Wow. He died on a Thursday, 3:12 a.m. She was holding his hand. She felt the last exhale. She waited for the next one. It didn't come. She sat there for 3 hours. Then the sun came up. She walked to the kitchen. She made coffee. 1 cup, not 2. She looked at the empty rocking chair. She looked at the iron shirt still hanging on the closet door. And she laughed. Not because it was funny, because she was free. And then she cried, because freedom felt like failure. But she laughed first. That's resilience. Hey, you made it to the end. That means you stayed, like Martha stayed. If this story hit you somewhere quiet, hit the like button. Share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone in their invisible work. Subscribe for more stories about people who keep going when no one is watching. And be honest, who in your life is doing something hard that you've never thanked them for? Write their first name in the comments, not their story, just their name. Let's make invisible work seen.